Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio. Another year, another study. Here we are in a very original study at Kardec Radio. We're studying today the Medium's book. Believe it or not, Kardec Radio is going to be turning 14 years in 2025. A teenager. And in these 14 years, we had a few studies about mediumship, the Medium's book, but not one like the one we're going to present to you. For the first time, we're going to present to you a very thorough, committed study on the book, The Medium's Book by Kardec. The Medium's Book by Kardec was published in 1861. And I'm going to present to you a few slides. And throughout these next 6 months, other scholars in Spiritism will join me in sharing with you Kardec's wisdom in this manual. He says it's a manual for those who want to practice Spiritism. Are you ready? Yes, let's go. If you want to buy the Medium's book, it's so easy. You have a phone, you have the Medium's book. You just go to the phone, to the book app that you have, and you buy or download the app. There are free versions. If you Google, you'll find free versions of the Medium's book available throughout the internet. Today, we're going to begin with the introduction in chapter 1. Let's go together, and I'm going to ask you, do you think you're a medium? Are you a medium? What if you are? What do you do with it? Many people don't know what to do with their mediumship. They think mediumship is a gift. Do you think mediumship is a gift? Because if you think it is a gift, I'll tell you the truth. It is not a gift. No, no. Mediumship is first and foremost, and we're going to study it throughout the study of the Medium's book. It is an ability that we have inside of us that everyone has, and throughout time we can make it more visible, more ostensible. Well, for now, let me share with you the foundation where Kardec begins this book so we can study it together. Shall we? All right. I'm going to share my screen with you. So I'm going to share first my entire screen to make it more simpler, Yes. Let's check this out. Right? Let me see where we are. Okay. Okay, hold on a second. I am just going to make sure that you can see this quite well. Yes, on this background. And here we are. All right. A worldwide team of Spiritist instructors will be here with you every Thursday at 10 p.m., sharing with you these teachings that are unprecedented. And we're going to go through the Medium's book. When you open the book, it says experimental Spiritism. It's important to learn what Kardec very carefully decided to do. So here we have Kardec sharing with us the beauty of this study, right? And he says to us, the Medium's book or manual for mediums and evokers. And it's a comprising continuation of the Spirit's book. Okay, so here we have it, right? So first we need to study the Spirit's book and then the Medium's book. Now, the Medium's book is composed of 36 chapters, two parts. Part 1, Kardec's preliminary observations, with 4 chapters. Part 2, Spirit Manifestations, with 32 chapters. 36 chapters. And Kardec was so wise. If in the Spirit's book he had questions and answers, in the Medium's book he has items. Item 1, 2, 3. Each paragraph is numbered till paragraph 350, which is the end of chapter 29. The next chapters will be chapters without items, just to understand how he laid it out for us. The introduction, people barely read it, but it's so important because he's going to begin by saying, each and every day, experience confirms our opinion that the difficulties and disappointments encountered in the practice of Spiritism result from ignorance of the science's principles. So here we go. Why do people have a hard time with Spiritism, the practice? Because they don't know well. When we see people who are Spiritists and then practitioners and then they quit, it's the result that they didn't learn anything. Because when you learn, you don't quit. You transform yourself. And when we don't know enough, we don't know how to go on with the practice. So that's why he made this book, he says. So he says this book is for all of us who want to navigate this practice of Spiritism safely. If you read it, it's going to make it better. But there are conditions, he says. Although everyone already possesses the necessary inner seed qualities for becoming a medium, such qualities, he says, and forgive me just a second. Yes. The conditions will be such, right, that the qualities express themselves in varying degrees, and developing them depends on causes that are outside the human will. So when we are in this dialogue with the spirits, there are things that depend on us, the mediums, and there are things that are completely out of our control, out of our will. That many people didn't know, because they think that they are, oh, we're going to sit down and we're going to pray and we're going to talk to the spirits and everything is going to be fine. Not necessarily. Because if you have a companion with you in that group that is not really coherent in their daily lives, they're going to attract spirits of lower order that may affect the whole group. It doesn't depend on one person only. It doesn't depend on even on the group that of incarnates. It depends on conditions that are outside of our will. Plus, there will be challenges, he says. Spiritist practice is surrounded by many challenges. These are Kardec's words in the Medium's book. The Spiritist practice is surrounded by many difficulties, and it's not always exempt from problems which only a serious and thorough study can prevent. Serious and thorough study, and that we begin today at Kardec Radio. It's a serious and thorough study. we will see that there are many people who study Spiritism, but they don't practice. For Kardec, the practice of Spiritism is not only the inner, but also this communication with the spirits. If we rule out the spirits from our practice, how can we be practicing Spiritism? And we are living at a very challenging time when many people study, but they don't practice it. And we know why. Because people know that when they start practicing, they have to change their lives, and people don't want to change their lives. That's why he says we need caution. We fear that, because he says this, Kardec says in the introduction, previously he wrote a very practical manual. It was sold out, it went out of print, and he said, we thought it was too short, too succinct. We extended it, developed into a greater book, the Medium's book. And he says, though it's very comprehensive, we think that it's ideal. And he says, why? We fear that a short, like a flash course on mediumship, a succinct exposition might facilitate frivolous experiences. And this would only lead to regret. Why? Because then you're interacting with the spiritual realm without knowing what we're doing. And problems may happen. People can get sick. People may be experiencing huge problems in their lives. So, to deal with that communication, we need to study it very seriously, very thoroughly, understanding very humbly that we are one part of this two-way road communication. What is preventing you from practicing Spiritism? If you have a center, does your center have mediumistic meetings? Why don't you participate? Have you done the courses? Have you taken the courses? If not, why not? What are you waiting? Another reincarnation? Who can guarantee that in the next reincarnation we're going to be able to do these studies? We're not God. So if in this life you are a spiritist, I would encourage you, highly recommend that you study mediumship, that you understand about the practice, because it's a big part of us. Many of us have a very troubled life because we do not educate our mediumship at all. And the best framework to educate our mediumship is called Spiritism. And Kardec says it's not supposed to be easy. He says, we will add one more important consideration. Meetings where experiments are performed lightly and without full knowledge of the facts arouse very bad impressions in novices and ill-disposed individuals and cause the problems of conveying a very wrong idea about the world of spirits, thereby encouraging ridicule and providing well-founded grounds for criticism. I know people who go to mediumistic meetings where people do not study quite thoroughly, and they come and say, oh, but you know, Vanessa, the people in the meeting, they're not very coherent. They, they, they leave the meeting and go get together and drink some wine. I said, yeah, you're right. That's not very coherent at all. When we truly study Spiritism, we don't drink alcohol anymore. Why? Because alcohol changes our consciousness, the state of our consciousness, and opens doors for spirit attachments, influences of low order spirits. So, if we're really serious about the spiritist practice, we stop drinking as well. So, let's go to chapter 1. Chapter 1, Kardec is so masterful. He titles part 1 with 4 chapters as preliminary observations. And he says, first and foremost, the title of chapter 1, are there spirits? So, to be a medium or in a mediumistic practice, I need to accept the fact that I am a spirit incarnated on earth, and spirits also exist. They are discarnated, but they're just like us. So, Kardec says in a few points about the existence of spirits. The cause of doubt regarding the existence of spirits is due primarily to ignorance of their true nature. Do you? It's not about much of a belief, but the knowledge. We know that spirits exist. That's why nowadays, for those who are still searching for the proof of the spirit, it's fruitless. Because nothing external to us will prove to us that we are spirits and that we continue existing after the death of the physical body. It's an inner realization that nothing will prove to us. And he says that there are conditions for the belief in the existence of spirits. If we believe in the existence of the soul and its continued individuality after death, we must also believe that 1. The nature of the spirit is different than that of the body, since once separated from the body, the spirit can no longer retain its material properties. And 2, the spirit possesses its own consciousness because it is subject to happiness or suffering. So our happiness is not because of the body, it's inside of us. The suffering, same. There are many discarnate spirits who are suffering. They are suffering pain. Like they have pain in their spiritual body. And you're like, but how come? Kardec's going to explain in the Spirit's book, in a whole chapter, sensation and perception of the spirits. It's all in the spiritual body. So whether we incarnated or discarnated, we feel what is in our minds. If in our mind, I am focusing on that traumatic experience, I'm still living it, though discarnated. The importance of knowing not to be in that constant cycle of memories of pain. Letting go. And he says, in a simple definition, spirits are merely human souls that have been freed of their corporeal envelope. That's all it is. We are spirits incarnated. When this body stays here and decomposes itself, we're spirits that are still existing. That's all it is. Spirits are merely human souls that have been freed of their corporeal envelope. That's all it is. We're not ghosts, we're spirits. We keep on living. So he finalizes chapter 1 with reflections that we turn out into questions for us. Question number 1. According to Kardec, we who think during earthly life, are we no longer able to think after death? Your loved one who died, they keep on being who they are. They don't change. There is no RIP. rest in peace. No, no. They will continue being who they are. If they were in peace here, they will continue to be at peace there. They were not, they won't be there either in the spiritual realm. If we think right now as incarnates, can't we any longer think of those whom we have loved? Yes, we do. If you travel to another country, you think of your loved ones, don't you? Why we're gonna change it if if we lose the physical body to death? We continue being in willing to connect, right? If we think of those whom we have loved, don't we nonetheless wish to communicate with them? Let me make just a few corrections here, a few typos. Those whom we have loved, nonetheless, right? Okay. Don't we want to communicate with them? Yes. We have internet, we travel, we send texts and messages. And why wouldn't we do the same after we discarnated? If we can be anywhere we want to be, aren't we able to be right here beside others whom we love? If those who departed before us are right here beside us, aren't they able to communicate with us? Through the perispirit, aren't we able to act upon matter? If we can act upon inert matter, aren't we able to act upon a living being? And finally, if we can act upon a living being, are we not able to guide someone's hand in order to write? Automatic writing. So Kardec is giving us a principle here. As we're able, they write through us, can't we communicate through questions and answers? These are questions for us. So you and I, at this moment, as we introduce this amazing study of the Medium's book, you and I reading chapter after chapter every week, we have a chapter together. Today was introduction in chapter 1. We need to meditate on us. Are you feeling you are a spirit? Because we can only be a medium when we accept that we're spirits. And then those who departed are spirits just like us, who have the same disposition that they had before they incarnated. They have loved ones, they want to communicate, we can communicate with them. Everything very natural. Is it natural or supernatural? That's going to be chapter 2. Come back next week so we can talk more about the beauty of mediumship, how important it is. Humanity is going to live much better when humanity understands that we are all mediums, that sometimes we're speaking the voice of those who don't want peace, or the reverse. We may be instruments of peace. We're going to finalize with the best message for all mediums, Saint Francis prayer. Yes, it's going to be our motto for mediumship. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we're born to eternal life. Let us then thank God for the opportunity we're having through Kardec Radio and the spirit directors of Kardec Radio for granting us this sacred moment of studying our mediumship, an inherent ability of every spirit who is incarnated and needs to be educated in order to have a better life. Should you have any question or comment, you may always write throughout our program or send it to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. We wish you many blessings and a wonderful new year with the study of the Medium's book. Thank you, friends.